Elephants in the room.
Okay, so did you hear like the tapping?
Yeah,
the
it's
beating?
when my voice was getting too high.
Well, no, when it gets to the end, then you start.
Oh,
So like when you
so I
started,
start now.
it was yeah. So when you started, it wasn't even. It hadn't gone into it yet.
Hi guys, welcome back to Elephants in the Room. My name is Nicole. Thanks for being here again. Every week I do another episode. I'm like, wait, are people still listening to me talk? I'm not sure. I'm happy you guys are here. I hope you guys enjoyed last week's episode. That one was a little special for me because it's a little vulnerable for me to talk about. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed it. Excuse my voice. I have like a little bit of a cold still. I feel like I've been sick the last like week and I haven't like recovered from it, but it's cool. We're good. We're going to keep moving forward. So yeah, I hope you guys had a good week. I hope fun things happen. I hope you guys are doing okay mentally. I hope you are doing things, to take care of yourself. And yeah, that's what we're all just trying to do out here. So, as I told you guys last week, this next few weeks is going to be so crazy for me, like with moving and everything. So I'm kind of stressed out. I'm not going to lie. I'm very stressed out. But like I said, I'm very grateful. So please be praying for me, guys. Like I am finishing up things at work. At work, I have to hire a replacement for me. So I have to find a store manager. I have to train them. I actually have to travel to Idaho to go do a checkup on my store out there before I leave. I just have like so much to do at work. It's crazy. Like a couple of the weeks I've scheduled, I'm working like 50 hours and it's just like nutsness. And on top of that, I also have this podcast that I love, but it also is very time consuming. Filming takes me a long time. Editing takes me a long time. Yeah, I just have a lot going on. And then on top of that, I need to pack and my brain is just like fried. Well, without further ado, let's just get into this episode. This episode is, drumroll please. I always do this, but drumroll please. Dun, 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 dun. It's okay to not be okay. Is it really okay to not be okay? We're going to talk about it on today's episode. I saw this cute little hoodie in my clothing laundry bin thing, whatever. And I put it on and I was like, oh my gosh, I need to make an episode about this. This is important. Even though I feel like I've kind of already talked about this concept, I want to kind of dive deeper into it because I feel like it's seriously not talked about. And I feel like as of recently, society has, started to be more accepting of mental health struggles with finances, struggles with work, struggles with relationships. I feel like it's all been, more accepted as of recently, but for a really long time, I feel like it wasn't. And I also feel like it was not talked about. Like growing up in the media. Now, again, I didn't really have social media growing up. Like I had a MySpace when I was like 14, but social media has completely changed the game, obviously. But like on commercials, on movies, TV shows, music videos, which were the things that we were watching, when we were young, since social media wasn't as big of a thing. Was anyone ever talking about mental health struggles? Was anyone ever talking about struggles with your family, struggles with a job, struggle with your finances? Was anyone talking about toxic relationships? Was anyone talking about going to therapy? No, I feel like it was just this like taboo thing to talk about. Like no one wanted to talk about it. No one did. Because people were embarrassed by it. It's kind of like these skeletons that we keep in our closet. Like, oh, we all struggle, but like we're not going to talk about it, And I feel like sometimes it kind of gets pushed down and shoved down as, oh, we'll just focus on the positive. Don't focus on the negative. Like be grateful for what you have. And those things can coexist. You can be grateful for what you have and also be struggling with what you have and with the circumstances you're in or with how you're feeling. Sometimes everything around you can be going okay, but you aren't okay. And sometimes you have to just check in with yourself. But let's just talk about the new wave of like vulnerability and mental health struggles, because I think to a certain extent it's been glamorized as well. So I feel like it's two extremes. I feel like we either don't talk about mental health or we talk about it to an excessive amount where we kind of invalidate the people who really struggle because we want to kind of glamorize it and gain sympathy. Now, not to say any of us know what's genuine and what's not, but occasionally you'll scroll past a video on your For You page, and you're like, oh my gosh, I feel so bad for this person. They're going through this. They're crying. They're saying this. They're saying that, and then you end up finding out that it was all fake. Like I know, for example, there was a girl that I saw, and she was struggling with getting out of an abusive relationship, and she had kids, and she said, I'm depressed, I'm anxious, I don't know what I'm going to do, I'm living in all this fear. And obviously her circumstances were bad, but moral of the story, a ton of people ended up donating money to her, all to find out it was all fake. So that's the scary thing about social media and about humans, is that we can take something that is so good for us. Like talking about our mental health struggles is so good for us. And we can twist it and we can have bad intentions and use it to our gain. So there are people on this app who know that so many people are struggling with their mental health and they want to capitalize on that. And so it's disingenuous when they talk about it. So I feel like there's this extreme of being super vulnerable and crying and sobbing. And again, I have cried on social media. I am not exempt from this, but I feel like there is an extreme talking about mental health and normalizing it and struggling with your mental health on social media. And then there's like an absence thereof. And I feel like it's really frustrating because there's a sense of it being glamorized, that the people who are actually struggling with it, when they do put something out on the internet, which I think sometimes is a cry for help, and I also think it's a way to express your emotions, people are like, oh, you're just doing this for views, you're just crying, you're just saying you have depression, you're just saying you have anxiety, you're just saying that because you want attention. And it's like, you don't know that person. You don't know what they're going through. You don't know if they're going to be here tomorrow. So regardless of your opinion of what you think, we need to be kind. And so regardless, even the people who are doing it disingenuously, we don't know that. And so either way, we need to choose kindness when we react to these people. Social media is so interesting because everybody just thinks like their opinion matters so much. Like you see a video of someone and you see these nasty comments. People comment the rudest, most invasive, crazy things. And then their justification for it is, well, you put it out on social media. And it's like, I'm sorry, but just because I put an intimate detail of my life on social media does not mean that I give you the right to judge and criticize and tell me what to do and tell me who I am. You don't know me. You don't know that person. And so that's what I want to break. I want to break this stigma of we either can't talk about our mental health and our mental health struggles, or if we talk about it, we're not being honest, we're being disingenuous, we're just doing it for views. Now, I don't think that every struggle that you ever have, you need to post it on social media. I don't think that. But I do think that it is so important to be vulnerable with people on social media, because social media is quite literally a highlight of our lives. So we're constantly scrolling on an app that is highlights of our lives. So when we are struggling with our mental health, when we are depressed, when we are anxious, when we are living in fear, when we're going through our toxic relationship, we're constantly comparing ourselves to everyone who's happy, who has joy, who has peace, who has money, who has these healthy, happy relationships. And we feel like crap. We feel like crap about ourselves, and we feel like there's something wrong with us. And there's nothing wrong with you. So all I want is for this episode to be a place where you guys can understand that it's okay to talk about your mental health struggles, and it is okay to not be okay. And it is okay if people judge you or critique you for doing so. TikTok became an outlet for me when I was going through my faith crisis and my divorce, because it almost felt like a world of people who didn't know who I was. I didn't fear judgment because no one who was watching me was in my everyday life. So it felt like an escape of a support and an outlet to get what was in my heart out without having the judgment and shame that I knew I would feel from friends and family. And I genuinely do believe that a lot of times when people do put stuff on social media, it's just an outreach. It's an outreach for help. They don't know what to do. They have something to express. They don't know who to call, whether it's because they're scared of judgment or they fear, that people won't look at them the same in their circle, or maybe it is for attention. But regardless, there is hurt there. And I think it's so important to not devalidate those people. I think we all have good intuition when it comes to the fact that, yes, there's sometimes that it is disingenuine, but again, you never know what someone is going through. You never know what someone is going through. You never know if it's going to be someone's last day on this earth. And so you need to choose kindness. You need to be kind. It doesn't matter what you think about them. It doesn't matter how you feel. It doesn't matter if you've never experienced depression, never experienced anxiety, never experienced heartbreak. If someone's going through that and they publicly share that, send them some love, send them some support. They don't need criticism. They need love. They need love. One of my passions and purposes is being vulnerable on social media because I want to normalize the struggle of life, and I want to normalize mental health issues and healing and, all the things that I go through and have gone through in my life. And I faced a lot of backlash for it. Like, I've had a lot of people say she's just doing this for attention and she just wants views and whatever, people say whatever they want. And honestly, yeah, there have been times where I get a little embarrassed or it affects me a little bit, but for the most part, I really don't care. Because I know that if it helps one person, that's what matters to me. And it's also a form of self-expression. So it's healing in a sense. It is healing. It shocks me the amount of people who reach out to me and they're like, Nicole, I'm going through the same thing. I'm feeling the same ways. And I don't talk about it, but I am. The most comforting thing when you're going through something hard is to know that you're not alone and to know that you're not crazy and that you are normal. When we go through hard things, when we're going through depression or anxiety, it is so easy to be like, there's something wrong with me. There's something wrong with me. I don't know what to do. There's nothing wrong with you. If you are going through depression right now, there's nothing wrong with you. If you are going through anxiety, there's nothing wrong with you. If you're feeling insecure, if you're feeling unstable, if you're feeling unhealed, if you're feeling any type of way, there is nothing wrong with you. You are a normal human being. And every human experiences a layer or a degree of those things. They just don't talk about it. So when you're going through it, you feel like you're the only one. In some of the darkest times of my life, all I really needed was someone to tell me that I wasn't alone. All I really needed was someone to tell me that I wasn't crazy, that what I was feeling was valid, that I was still enough, despite what was going on in my head and my heart and what I was struggling with. That my life wasn't hopeless. I wasn't hopeless, that I wasn't damaged, broken goods because I struggled with anxiety and depression and I had panic attacks. I wish someone would have just said, hey, me too. You're not alone. Let's talk about anxiety. Oh, anxiety. We love anxiety. No, I'm just kidding. We hate anxiety. No, I'm just kidding. we dislike anxiety. I'm someone who struggles really bad with anxiety. I would say that that's what I struggle with the most of all mental health struggles is anxiety. When I first went to my therapist, she said, you have high anxiety, high panic. And I didn't really understand what that meant, but as I've continued to go through my adult life, I've really started to realize what anxiety is. And it's funny because it almost feels like as we get older, those things should get better, but I almost feel like they get worse. I feel like my anxiety has gotten worse the older I get. It's something that I struggle with on a daily basis. It's something that can run my life at times. And my relationship with Jesus and reading the Bible always helps me, always helps my anxiety. But it doesn't just take it away. And there's also been a lot of times in my life that I've struggled with depression. I don't struggle with depression as much as anxiety, but there has been times in my life. That's something that I really struggle with too, is as many of you know, I'm a Christian, and there's just such this stigma that if you're a Christian, you can't struggle with your mental health. And if you struggle with your mental health, you don't have enough faith. And that has always made me so upset because I love Jesus, but I struggle with anxiety, and I've felt and been depressed before in my life. And Jesus hasn't necessarily just taken it away. Has he helped me? Has he given me strength? Has he freed me from so much pain from it? Absolutely. But those are still things that I struggle with. And that doesn't make me any less of a Christian than anyone else. It is damaging to say to people, if you struggle with your mental health, you just don't have enough faith. That is damaging. That points people away from the love of Jesus Christ, the acceptance of Jesus Christ. Jesus accepts you and loves you right as you are, who you are, wounds and all, struggles and all, and he takes you into his arms, and he helps heal you from the inside out, and he helps restore your life. But when you become Christian, your struggles just don't go away. Like, life doesn't just get easier. Matter of fact, I think it gets harder. I think you become way more aware of your struggles, way more aware. And you have a helper, and you have a purpose, and you have a goal, which helps, but it doesn't just take it away. There are so many things that we go through in this life, whether it's mental health struggles, struggles at home, family struggles, relationship struggles, insecurities, fears, addictions, habits. It's really scary to admit that you don't have it figured out and that you're not okay. I've said this before, but it's a lot easier to talk about our struggles after we've already overcome them than talk about them in the midst of them. It's really easy to say like, oh yeah, so I used to struggle with this. It's a lot harder to say like, I am struggling right now with this, and I am actually not doing the best. I'm not really okay right now. It's so scary to admit that we're not okay because it feels so vulnerable and it feels like a failure. But I am here to tell you guys, admitting and accepting that you are not okay and that you need help is the strongest thing that you could ever do. And it says a lot about your character. No one with a prideful heart is going to be able to sit there and say, hey, I'm not okay. I need help. Admitting that you're not okay takes humility. And I believe humility is one of the most beautiful things in this world. And in a character. If you can have a character trait, humility is so important. You know, we all have these facades that we wear, no matter what we're going through. We like to kind of pretty ourselves up and clean ourselves up before we go out into the world. Why? Well, you feel embarrassed. You don't want people to know that you were crying about your ex that they told you to stop crying about because you deserve better anyways. You don't want people to know that. You don't want to have to show up to work 15 minutes late, and when your boss says, "Why were you late?" you say, "I was having an anxiety attack in the car." You don't want to have to tell your college professor when he asks you why you haven't turned in any of your assignments that you've been laying in bed for 7 days and haven't showered and your room's a mess because you're depressed. It's embarrassing. It feels like we're exposing ourselves. But the problem with that is it just creates so much pain. I really feel like if struggle and admitting that we weren't okay was more accepted, we wouldn't stay in it for so long. I feel like part of the reason we stay in it for so long and we stay in the depression and the anxiety for so long is because it feels like there's no way out, because we know when we get out, we won't have an explanation for what happened. And we don't want to be judged, and we don't want to have to explain ourselves, and we don't want to have to make sense of something that doesn't even make sense to us. I don't understand my anxiety. I don't understand it. Logically, I'm like, Nicole, why do you get anxious? Don't get anxious. But it's just not that simple. So we're scared because it's like we're supposed to justify it to the world, to the people in our life, when we don't even understand why we're experiencing it and how to conquer it. It's like, you know, when people say like, oh, I struggle with anxiety, or I struggle with depression, or whatever, I struggle with addiction, and people are just like, oh, just get over it. It's like, oh yeah, right. If I could get over it, and if I could not be anxious or not depressed or not struggle with addiction, I think I would probably choose that. You know, it's like, yeah, like, I don't know, like I feel like I've heard this before. Like someone's like, oh, I'm so anxious right now. And someone says, oh, well, just don't be anxious. It's like, okay, thank you. You cracked the code. Like, no, that's not helpful. And I will say too, when you're not okay and when you're struggling with your mental health, or, you know, whatever it may be, anything, when you're struggling with anything in life, unsolicited advice is the worst thing. I know when I'm struggling with something, I want support and I want love and I want comfort. If I want someone's opinion or advice, I will ask them. Sometimes I just don't want it because I'm not ready for it, because I'm still trying to understand what's even going on in my own head, you know? But yeah, guys, like it's okay to not be okay. It should be more normalized. It should be more accepted. We should be able to openly talk about it and not feel as scared, because when we do, like I said, it keeps us in that state for longer. And what's tied to that is shame. When you are struggling in your life, there's so much shame attached to talking about it, and there's so much shame attached to admitting it. So we hide it. We hide it. We hide that we are not okay, and we try to put on a fake face and pretend like we're okay when we're not. And the truth is, that's going to catch up to you. You can only fake it for so long. And the only way to be okay is to face that you are not okay, to accept that, and then to take the steps to recover and heal from that and be okay. But the first part is acceptance. If you can't accept it and you only push shame on yourself, you're never going to truly be okay. You have to accept that you are struggling, and there's nothing wrong with struggling. It's okay to struggle. We all struggle. I promise you. There's nothing wrong with you. Like, I just feel like there's so many things going on right now on social media, like on TikTok and stuff, where a lot of things are happening. And it's so funny. I feel like as a society, we are so quick to judge people. Like you see one thing on social media and you're like, oh my gosh, this person's terrible. They're this, they're that. Like cancel culture is so real. And the sad thing is it's real on social media and it's real in real life, in your everyday life, in your circles, at work, with your friends, at school. People are so judgmental. And the second that you're vulnerable and you're honest about not being okay, and you're honest about your mental health struggles, and you're honest about the breakup that you went through and the family struggles you're having, whatever it is, people automatically judge you. Not everybody, but a lot of people do. And it's because we've all become obsessed with this idea of perfection, obsessed with this idea of what life is supposed to be. We think life is supposed to be like sunshine and rainbows, get married, have kids, have this big successful career, make money, do all these things, have this aesthetic life on social media and live happily ever after. We're also obsessed with that. So when we see someone do something out of the norm, we judge it. We assume. And I'm not exempt from this. I have judged people before and I shouldn't, because the truth is you have no idea what someone is going through. You may see an outcome of something that one of their choices, you may see the consequences of one of their choices, but you don't know why they made that choice. You don't know what they went through. You don't know what hurt is in their heart. You don't know what's going on behind the scenes. You have no idea. So you can't judge them. And I'm speaking to myself here too, guys. We got to practice a little more empathy and love and respect for the fact that we don't know what someone is going through. We have no idea. We have no idea. You can take one piece of information and run with it, and you have no clue what's going on. So I just wish that we could create a safer space for everyone to just be real, to be who they are, to struggle, to go through things. Because we all are going through things. We just are. Like there's no going around that. Like I said, I'm always so surprised by the amount of messages and DMs I get saying like, Nicole, like I'm struggling with the exact same thing. Like I thought I was the only one. And I'm always like, what? Why do we just bury these struggles so deep within us with so much shame? It breaks my heart, because if we could all be there for each other through the struggles and accept the fact that it's okay to not be okay and it's okay if you're not okay, there would just be so much more peace in this world and we could help each other through it. Because isolation isn't good. And isolation happens when we fear judgment. And isolation happens when we have shame, when we feel shame for struggling. And we shouldn't feel shame for struggling. I feel like this episode was kind of all over the place, but guys, it just baffles me like how many people are struggling and feel like they're alone. And you're just not alone. You're not alone. It's okay to struggle, guys. We all do, whether we admit it or not. And so I just want to just remind you of that. So I have a couple of reminders for you. Therapy is good. Guys, go to therapy. If you don't go to therapy, go to therapy. No, I'm just kidding. But like actually, there's nothing wrong with needing help, and there's nothing wrong with using different tools for help, whether that be therapy, a group of friends, wise counsel. There's so many different things that we can do to help us heal and to help us get out of a dark and deep place, and so just don't let yourself feel like there's no solutions or options for you. There are ways that you can be helped. So fall into that and let yourself be helped. Number 2, whatever it is you're struggling with, what you feel is valid. The hurt you're feeling is normal. And there's nothing wrong with you for feeling the way that you feel. You're okay just where you're at. Number 3, don't struggle alone. Do not struggle alone, guys. Find someone, talk to someone. We're not meant to be isolated. We're not meant to go through things alone. Say a prayer, call out to Jesus, call a friend, call a family member. Try to find someone, and if you have no one, call me. No, but like actually call me. Message me. I love you guys, and I don't want anyone to be alone. I don't want anyone to be alone. And I'm not the best at responding to messages, I'm not going to lie, but I try my best to see them and respond when I can, but just know I see you, I hear you, and I love you. Struggling with your mental health is a real thing. Going through hard things is a real thing. Not being okay is a real thing. Admitting that you're not okay is a good thing. It's a powerful thing. It's a strength to be vulnerable like that. You know, growing up, I don't want to say too much because it's not my story, but I have experienced some suicides in my life. Some very close people in my life have committed suicide. And I just want to say, if you are feeling hopeless, if you feel like you don't belong here, if you feel like you are not enough, stay here. Stay with me. Stay with us. I promise you one day, this is all going to be okay. You're going to be okay. It's not over. Your story's not done. You are enough. You are loved. God loves you. I love you guys so much, and I feel like this episode was just all over the place. But I just hope that you guys know that it's okay to not be okay. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with you. We are all struggling. We are all going through it. Don't judge a book by its cover. Don't think you know someone's story just by reading a sentence of it. You have no idea what the people around you are going through. So walk with love, walk with empathy, and walk with grace towards others. Love others and love yourself. It's a dark world we live in. There's a lot of good, but there is a lot of dark, and we need to uplift and love each other. I am going to go to sleep because I'm really tired. I think that's also why I feel a little discombobulated. I'm really tired. It's really late. But like I said, this podcast is a priority to me. You guys are a priority to me. And now it's also, helping me pay my bills. And I'm here and I want to talk to you guys. So I love you guys. And I hope that this all made sense and it wasn't too crazy and sporadic. But yeah, if you want to support this podcast, you can follow me on Instagram and TikTok at Elephants in the Room. You can also go subscribe to my new YouTube channel. Yay! I have a YouTube channel now. Thanks for subscribing. Thanks for being here. If you're watching this video right now, amazing. So yeah, you can subscribe to my YouTube channel. You can also follow my personal Instagram and TikTok, Nicole.Donna. You can share this podcast with a friend, with a family member, share it on social media, give me a rating. Yeah. Let me know your guys' feedback. I just don't know if you guys like what I'm doing, if you don't like what I'm doing, if you like what I'm saying, if you hate what I'm saying. Give me ideas. Help me understand what you guys want me to talk about. If you guys want to do a Q&A, if you guys want certain topics, let me know. Shoot me a DM, shoot me an email, comment. I really want you guys to feel like you're a part of this because you are. This is a community. This is my little safe group of family and friends, which you guys are like family and friends to me. Really, you're like family. And I want you guys to feel safe, and I want this to be a safe space for you and a safe space for me where we can all just be vulnerable with each other and help each other through the struggle. Because I don't know what I'm doing in this life. I don't know if you guys do. I don't feel like I know what I'm doing, but we're all doing this together. I'll close this out by saying, what elephants are in your room? My name is Nicole, and I will talk to you guys next week.